Hi, it's Anna Haferman. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to do a hung hem hanging from the cast-on comb directly to the bed rather than using waste yarn and the transfer tools. So there's two methods. One is using every other needle, and then the other one is every needle. So the every other needle method is easier but a little less stable, and then the every needle method is a little harder but more stable. And they basically work the same way, so we're going to start with the easier one, which is the every other needle. As you can see, they look the same from the public side and a little different from the inside. So I will start by, I've got my carriage threaded, and then I'm going to pull out every other needle and cast on. For the yarn I'm using, I'm going to use tension 5, so I'm going to cast on at tension 5, and that's row 1. Then I'll take my cast on comb and with the prongs facing away from me, I will hang it so that I get a one prong per loop, and hang that. And then I'm going to put some weight then I'll take every alternate needle and pull that out. So then I'm still on tension 5. We'll do row 2. So now I've got a stitch on every needle. Now for my hem, however deep I want it, I just want double the amount of rows. So say this is 14 rows deep, I'm going to do 28 rows. So I've done 2, so I'm going to go to 28. So that's seven, 28. So now I have 28 rows on my cast on comb. On my 28 rows of knitting. So now what I'm going to do, what I will be doing is flipping the comb up and sitting it on the bed. So first I want to make sure that the latches are closed, and this just helps to have the comb sit on there better. So close the latches, take off the weights, being careful not to drop the loops off the comb, and then flip your comb so that your stitches are now underneath, and just set it on the bed and line up the first loop that's on a prong with your second needle with a stitch. That should work. And so now all you need to do is you're taking every other needle and pulling it through one of these loops. So that's first one, the third one, every other needle. And you may have to sort of you'll have to kind of move the stitches so that they're in the right place for the needle to come through. That this isn't too difficult because the loops are fairly big and they're wide open. So you'll see in the next method it's a little more difficult. But this one, to start with, I would start with this method just to learn how it works, and then work your way up to the second method. So we've got every other needle. So now each needle has an extra stitch on it, every other needle. So now we'll take the comb and just flip it back the other way, pull it off. And so now you've got every other stitch on every other needle, and now we can close the knitting. Now, if your carriage is set for normal, this will knit just fine like that. So I'm just going to go up 2 tensions to tension 7 to close the row. Then back to tension 5. Now, if you were actually knitting a garment, you would want to weight this down, but I'm just doing a sample, so I'm just going to take it off. So, let me take this off and then I'll show you what it looks like. So here's our sample. And you can see that's what it looks like. So the second method goes like this. First of all, that's the one that looks like that. We've got every needle selected for the cast on, and our main tension is going to be 5, so I'm going to go up 2 tensions to tension 7 for the cast on row. And this will just give us a stitch that's slightly bigger to hang, and you'll see why. So we'll do the first row at tension 7, and you see how they get kind of wobbly because we normally cast on at a lower tension, but just pull them back to tighten them up some. Then hang your comb, and the way you want to do it is you want to have that first prong right in that loop. So don't put a prong there. You'll see once I do it. So there we go. And you want to make sure you have a prong in each loop. It's very important. Now hang your weights again. And that was our first row at tension 7. Now we're going to go back to our main tension, which was tension 5, and we're going to do go up to row 28. So that was row 1. 2, 3. So that's 28 rows. Now again, we're going to flip the comb over and hang the weights and hang the stitches. So the first thing we'll do, close the latches so the cast on comb can have a flatter place to sit. And then I want to take the weights off. I want to make sure not to drop any stitches. So I'm going to start pulling the comb toward me and then take the weights off so I don't risk dropping them, dropping a stitch off the comb, because these are live stitches down there. So then I'll turn it, and now they're going to stay just because they're not going to slide down. So then I want to get it on the bed so that the first stitch here lines up with the second stitch on the right, and then the comb should kind of sit right next to the needles so that you can get the stitches through easily. So now this, your first needle, you won't put a stitch on, and that's normal when you hang a hem. Now you'll just start pulling every needle through the stitches, and this is a situation where it may help to wear your reading glasses. Even if you're not someone who normally wears reading glasses, you might find them useful, because what you're trying to do is get the needle through the stitch, and it can be hard to see. This is, but once you sort of feel where you're going, it's pretty easy. And I'm sort of pulling the stitches so that it gives me a space. And make sure you get it in there before you push it through. If you split the yarn, it's hard to back out, so you just want to make sure you're in the correct spot to begin with. and pull the needles through. And once you've done it a few times, it gets, you get faster at it. I'm actually sitting behind my camera, so I'm about 1.5 feet away. So it's kind of hard for me to see what I'm doing, but you can almost feel them when you're in the right place. So if you practice it a few times before you're really like ready to start your project, with some practice with some yarn, you're not some, kind of old waste yarns, here I think I got it under, I think I split that stitch. There we go. So, and then your last one. Now, you want to make sure you've got one on each needle, and it probably would help to pull them all to the same. See that you've got an extra stitch on each needle except the first one. Now it's normal when you hang a hem to have one less, because what you're actually hanging is the bar between the stitches. So then you twist it, pull it back down, and just get your comb free. And so now you've got 2 stitches on every needle. And what I usually do when I hang a hem is hang this thread here over that first needle, so that when I knit across I have the same thickness across, but that you don't necessarily have to do that. So now I'm going to close the hem. I'm going to go up to tension 7 to give it a little more ease for when the 2 stitches go together. So go to tension 7 and back down to 5, and then you would weight this if you were making a real project. So then there's your hung hem. And it curls down. And then here was our first one with the every other needle, and then our second one with every needle. So that's my hung hem video, and I'm going to incorporate that into a project. I'd like to do the hung hem, and then I'm going to show you how to do a fast picot hem and a fast gathering row and make a hat. If you like the videos, please subscribe and hit like and make some comments and ask some questions, and thank you. Bye.